Ladies, I want you to listen to this very carefully. The biggest mistake you can make after someone walks away from you is trying to prove that you are worth staying for. That's not your job. That's his lesson to learn. The biggest mistake you can make after someone leaves you is trying to prove you are worth staying for. That's not your responsibility. If someone can walk away from you, let them. If someone can walk away from you, let them. You don't need to chase closure from the very person who caused the confusion. Closure isn't about getting answers from them. It's about deciding that your peace matters more than their explanation. When you stop trying to understand why they left and start focusing on why you deserve better, that's when true healing begins. You should never have to compete for someone's attention. If he made you feel like an option instead of a priority, then stepping back is your greatest power. Your value isn't determined by how much effort you put in to make someone stay. It's revealed by your willingness to walk away when you're not being respected. The most powerful response isn't anger or dramatic words. It's disappearing with quiet dignity. Not to punish him, but to reclaim your self-respect. Silence speaks volumes, especially when it's filled with calm confidence. Don't waste your energy trying to post the perfect photo or the right caption to make him jealous. Nurture the power within. Turn within for support, to push forward into the future, and not fear it lasting in the face of fear. Live your life for yourself. Let your success, joy, and glow speak for you. When you stop feeding his ego and stop giving him access to your attention, you create space for him to truly reflect. Regret doesn't come when you beg or plead. It comes when he realizes he lost someone who gave him love without conditions. And now that love is gone. Use the pain to raise your standards and never settle again for anyone who offers less than you deserve. The best revenge is not in showing off a new relationship or pretending you're over it. It's in genuinely healing and becoming someone he no longer has access to. You don't need to block him out of bitterness. You simply outgrow him. Real healing isn't loud. It's personal. And when you trust that his silence tells you all you need to know, you stop clinging to false hope. You make him regret not because you punished him, but because you loved yourself louder than he ever could. When you find yourself constantly trying to win someone's attention, affection, or time, it's a sign that something is deeply off. Love should never feel like a competition, and you should never have to earn your place in someone's life by proving your worth over and over again. If a man makes you feel like you're just one of many, like you're always waiting for your turn, then he's not the right one for you. You are not meant to beg for love or plead to be noticed. Love that is real sees you clearly and consistently shows up for you without needing reminders. Choosing to step back is not weakness, it's strength. It's a declaration that you will not shrink yourself to fit into someone else's limited space. When you walk away from someone who makes you feel replaceable, you're saying that you value yourself more than temporary validation. That's when everything begins to change. You stop measuring your worth by his moods, his attention, or his mixed signals. You start realizing that your presence is a privilege, not something to be auctioned off to the highest bidder. Someone who truly values you won't make you question your place. They won't treat you like an afterthought or keep you in a waiting room while they explore other options. Instead, they'll cherish your time, protect your heart, and make you feel safe in the connection. The right man won't leave you guessing. He'll leave no doubt in your mind that you matter. You'll know it not just by his words, but by how he consistently shows up with love, respect, and intention. Until that kind of love finds you, protect your energy. Withdraw from anything that makes you feel small, unseen, or unworthy. You don't need to compete to be loved. You only need to stand firm in the truth that you are already enough. The moment you stop trying to fit into someone else's life, you start building a life that truly fits you. And that's where the real power lies. Walking away from someone who didn't value you doesn't need to come with a loud announcement or emotional breakdown. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is simply choose silence. Not the silence that comes from resentment or a desire to manipulate, but the kind that speaks volumes without saying a word. When you no longer feel the need to explain your worth or convince someone to stay, you reclaim your power in the most graceful way possible. Disappearing with peace is more impactful than disappearing with bitterness. When you don't lash out or beg for attention, it shows emotional maturity and self-respect. It shifts the energy completely. Instead of feeding their ego by trying to prove something, you leave them alone with their choices. And that's where the regret often begins. People tend to notice what they lost when they can no longer rely on your presence to validate them. Silence is often misunderstood. Some think it's weakness or avoidance, but in reality, it's a confident refusal to engage in a situation that no longer serves you. It creates space for you to heal and for them to reflect. You're no longer reacting to their behavior or trying to win back their affection. You're choosing your dignity over temporary attention, your peace over emotional chaos. That's not just growth, that's transformation. There's a certain mystery and strength in pulling away with no explanation. It forces the other person to sit with their own actions, their own decisions. You're not punishing them, you're prioritizing yourself. And when someone finally realizes they can no longer reach you, not because you're hiding, but because you've outgrown the cycle, that's when the silence becomes deafening. That's when they understand that you were never the one who lost, you were the one who walked away with grace. When someone leaves your life or fails to recognize your worth, the instinct to prove something to them can be strong. You may feel tempted to post photos, share updates, or present a carefully curated version of your life just to make them feel like they missed out. But if everything you're doing is secretly aimed at getting a reaction from him, then you're still giving away your power. You're still letting him occupy space in your mind and control your decisions, even if it's from a distance. The real shift happens when you start living for yourself, not for the possibility of being seen by someone who didn't stay. You begin to pour your time, your energy, and your love into things that genuinely matter to you. Your passions, your goals, your friendships, your peace. You build a life that feels rich and fulfilling, even when no one is watching. And in that quiet, authentic transformation, you start to feel something deeper than validation. You feel freedom. It's not about trying to look like you've moved on. It's about actually moving on. When your days are filled with things that bring you joy, growth, and inspiration, you stop obsessing over whether he notices. You stop wondering if he's watching your stories or checking your feed, because at that point, it doesn't matter anymore. You're not performing a version of happiness, you're living it. And that kind of life speaks louder than any post ever could. And ironically, that's often the moment they feel it. Not because you tried to make them feel it, but because you stopped trying at all. The absence of effort is powerful. When he realizes he no longer has emotional access to you, that you've built something stronger on your own, that's when the regret hits. Not because you posted the right photo, but because you became someone who doesn't need to be seen to feel complete. Absence has a way of revealing truths that presence often hides. When you are always available, always reaching out, always trying to make things work, he may have taken that for granted. It's easy to overlook someone who is consistently there, showing love without conditions. But the moment you step back, when your voice, your support, and your care are no longer present, it creates a space that cannot be ignored. That silence begins to echo louder than any words you could have said. People often don't realize what they had until it's gone. When you stop feeding his ego by replying to his half-hearted messages, liking his posts, or holding on to hope, you remove the comfort he once leaned on. Suddenly, the absence of your love makes him confront the reality of what he lost. He may not say it out loud or show it publicly, but that space you left behind forces reflection. That's when regret begins, not when you try to make him see your value, but when you stop offering it freely. There's nothing more powerful than removing your energy from someone who never appreciated it. You were the person who accepted his flaws, stood by him, and gave without keeping score. But once he experiences life without that safety net, without the emotional warmth you provided, the contrast becomes undeniable. You're no longer there to make excuses for his behavior or to cushion his loneliness. And that absence becomes a mirror, showing him the cost of his choices. And while he sits with that regret, you continue to move forward. Not to prove a point, but because you finally reclaimed your time and energy, your silence, your distance, your emotional unavailability. They're not weapons, they're boundaries. And those boundaries protect you from falling back into something that once drained you. You no longer need to be his reminder of what he lost. Your growth, your peace, and your quiet strength speak for themselves. The pain he caused you was not meaningless. It may have shattered parts of you, made you question your worth, and forced you to sit with emotions that felt unbearable. But hidden within that pain is power, a chance to reset your standards and redefine what you truly deserve. Sometimes it takes being hurt deeply to realize that the love you were accepting was never enough. It wasn't full, it wasn't honest, and it wasn't consistent. It taught you that your heart deserves more than temporary affection and inconsistent attention. Use that heartbreak as a turning point. Let it be the moment you stopped settling for half commitments and one-sided efforts. Every broken promise and every time you were made to feel like an option rather than a priority should serve as a lesson, not a weight. When you raise your standards, you're not building walls to shut people out. You're creating a filter that only lets in those who are willing to match your energy, respect your boundaries, and show up fully. It's not about becoming cold or guarded. It's about becoming clear. You now know what you will and will not tolerate. You've seen what it feels like to be left guessing, to be undervalued, and to carry the emotional load alone. And because of that, you won't be fooled again by words without action or love that lacks depth. Your new standard doesn't mean being hard to love. It means expecting to be loved the right way. From this point forward, you no longer chase potential. You look for presence. You don't excuse emotional laziness or inconsistency, no matter how charming someone may seem. The person who wants to be in your life will not make you question your place in theirs. They'll meet your standards not because you demand it, but because they genuinely want to rise to them. And that shift will change everything, not just in love, but in the way you carry yourself in every part of your life. Revenge might seem tempting when someone hurts you. The desire to make them feel the same pain, to show them they made a mistake, can be overwhelming. But the truth is, revenge keeps you stuck in the past. It ties your energy to someone who already proved they didn't deserve it. You don't need to match their cruelty or play games to make a point. That kind of reaction only gives them more control over your emotions, when what you really need is freedom from their influence. The most powerful response isn't in proving something to them, It's improving something to yourself. Reinvention is the real transformation. It's choosing to rise from heartbreak and become someone even more confident, more focused, and more fulfilled. You don't do it to make them regret losing you. You do it because you realize you were always capable of being this person, even before they entered your life. You take all the energy that was once wasted on confusion and disappointment, and you turn it inward to grow, to heal, to shine. Reinvention doesn't mean pretending you were never hurt. It means using the hurt as fuel to become stronger. You shift your focus from what was lost to what you're building. You dive deeper into your goals, your passions, and your purpose. You surround yourself with people who uplift you, and you leave behind anything that makes you question your value. Slowly, the pieces of yourself that were broken begin to form a version of you that is wiser, calmer, and more at peace. And eventually, without even trying, you become someone they can no longer reach. Not because you're hiding, but because you're now operating at a level they no longer belong to. You didn't need to seek revenge because your evolution became the loudest message of all. You didn't shine to prove anything. You shined because that's who you are always meant to be. The best part is, you don't need them to see it. You just need to live it. Silence can often feel like the loudest answer. When someone you cared about stops calling, stops checking in, and disappears from your life, it's natural to search for meaning in the quiet. You may find yourself wondering if they miss you, if they're just giving it time, or if they'll come back when they realize what they lost. But clinging to that kind of hope only keeps you in a cycle of waiting for someone who already made a decision through their inaction. The truth is, if he wanted to reach out, he would. If you truly mattered to him in the way you deserved, he would have found a way to show it. People don't forget those who are important to them. They don't go silent on someone they care about. Instead of creating reasons in your mind to explain away his absence, start seeing it for what it really is. His silence is not confusion, it's clarity. It's not indecision, it's a choice. It's tempting to rewrite someone's behavior with hope, to believe maybe he's just scared, or not ready, or dealing with something personal. And while those things might be true, they don't excuse the fact that he let you go without a fight. Love doesn't vanish when things get hard. Real commitment shows up, even when it's uncomfortable. By accepting excuses in place of actions, you rob yourself of the chance to be with someone who would never make you guess. So trust the silence. Let it be the confirmation you need instead of the question that haunts you. When someone shows you with their actions, or their lack of them, what place you hold in their life, believe them. Don't chase after noise to fill the quiet. Let the silence lead you back to yourself, where peace, clarity, and self-respect wait patiently for you to come home. Healing is not a race, and it's certainly not a performance. After being hurt, there's often pressure, whether from others or yourself, to appear fine, to move on quickly, to jump into the next chapter before you've even finished processing the last one. But real healing doesn't happen when you're trying to prove something to the world. It happens in the quiet moments, when no one is watching, and you're finally honest with yourself about the pain you've been carrying. It's easy to confuse distractions with progress. You might fill your schedule, keep busy, or even start seeing someone new just to feel like you're moving forward. But if you haven't truly let go of the hurt, all you're doing is putting a bandage over a wound that needs care. Healing means sitting with your emotions, even the uncomfortable ones. It means allowing yourself to feel the sadness, the anger, the confusion, and working through them, not around them. So heal the vacancy of your heart, so you can feel the love, the pain, the sadness, the anger, the confusion, and working through them, not around them. When you give yourself the space to truly heal, you begin to see things more clearly. You understand what went wrong, what you tolerated, and what you never want to repeat again. You start reconnecting with parts of yourself that got lost in trying to make someone else happy. Healing teaches you how to rely on your own strength, how to love your own company, and how to find joy in being whole on your own. That kind of growth doesn't need to be rushed or forced. It unfolds naturally when you choose peace over pretense. Only after you've truly healed can you open your heart again without fear or desperation. Hope born from healing is different. It's calm, grounded, and free. It's no longer about filling a void or proving your worth to someone else. It's about trusting yourself enough to wait for something real, something that honors the love you've worked so hard to restore within yourself. Until then, healing isn't just a process, it's your protection. Becoming someone he no longer has access to isn't about revenge or resentment, it's about growth. When someone once made you feel small, unworthy, or like you had to shrink just to be loved, the most powerful thing you can do is evolve beyond that version of yourself. It's not about proving him wrong, it's about proving to yourself that you were never meant to stay in a space that required you to diminish your light to make someone else comfortable. You don't need to block him out of bitterness or erase him from your story with anger. You simply become unavailable, not because you're hiding, but because you've outgrown the person who once tolerated breadcrumbs, inconsistency, or emotional neglect. The new version of you knows better. You've developed stronger boundaries, a deeper sense of self-worth, and a clear vision of what love should feel like. You no longer entertain what once felt familiar but left you empty. This transformation isn't loud or dramatic, it's quiet and powerful. It shows up in your decisions, your energy, and the way you now protect your peace. You stop allowing access to people who only return when they feel your absence, not because they truly value your presence. You've learned that just because someone wants you back doesn't mean they deserve to have you again. You've built something beautiful within yourself, and you won't trade that just to relive something that once hurt you. Letting go of access is your final step in reclaiming power. He might one day look at the person you've become and feel regret. He might reach out, try to reconnect, or hope for another chance, but by then, it won't matter. Because the person you are now doesn't live in the past. She doesn't reopen doors to people who once closed them without hesitation. She doesn't hate him. She simply moves on to a place he can no longer reach.